Hi guys, welcome to the 9th episode of Comicgeddon.
Where all geek culture collide.
We've got a great episode for you today. Also, we're on a new channel now, Comicgeddon TV on YouTube.
Welcome if you're watching on there now.
The full broadcast of our show, which will be half an hour to an hour long broadcast, will still be on John's Geeking Out Comics channel as well as my channel as well. And then the individual episodes will be put onto Comicgeddon TV.
Which you could just Google that on YouTube.
And of course, all these episodes are a Dutch oven production. Directed and produced by S.M. Cornwall.
And how fit is that it's called Dutch oven? Because my girlfriend gets pissed at me all the time.
I keep threatening my wife to do it to her.
She'll leave me if I do that.
Yeah, so stay tuned, guys. All right, guys, we're back with Comicgeddon, yeah. But we're going to be going over 3 deaths that happened this week within
literally within days of each other. Well, the China Prince one was literally a day.
Not even 24 hours apart.
No. And then we have Doris Day. It was like 2 or 3 days apart, I think. So we'll hit Doris Day first. Doris Day. I keep calling her Doris Roberts. Sorry.
You didn't sound too sorry when you said that.
Like we said earlier, a lot of people know her from Everybody Loves Raymond. She was Raymond.
And she was Chevy Chase's mother-in-law in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Which is how I knew her.
Yeah. She was Miss Miracle on the Hallmark Channel's Miss Miracle movie series.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. She's just had so many great roles.
But it's, memories and all that. But my biggest memory of her was, of course, Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of screen time on that, but she was hilarious as Raymond's mom. And
in fact, she reminds me so much of my wife with our kids.
Well, the chemistry between her and
all the characters on the show were.
But I loved her and her husband's role.
Yeah.
The late great Peter Boyle. Yeah. They had great chemistry together.
Which they'll be seeing each other again now.
So the 2 that probably hit us the hardest though this week. First was Joni Lawler, also known as Chyna, for those from the WWF Attitude Era.
Stone Cold.
She had it rough.
Yeah.
She originally, I believe I remember the stories correctly, she originally had to wrestle as a guy because no female would wrestle her.
Wasn't she one of the first women to win the WWE Championship?
She won the Intercontinental Championship.
She won the WWF Championship as well.
Did she?
Yeah.
I gotta go back and watch that. But I know she was also the first, I think, only woman to enter the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
As well. She debuted at In Your House in '97.
Where she grabbed, who was facing Triple H at that
Goldust.
Goldust.
He had a few with Goldust, and she grabbed Marlena.
Yeah.
And just literally tossed around
like a rag doll.
Then I think she was at WrestleMania 13 as well, and I got to see her at 13. She was also a founding member of DX.
Yes. Back when she was Triple H's bodyguard during the not the Click. Not the Click, but
it was just him and Shawn.
Yeah, him, Shawn, and Rick Rude.
Yeah,
Rick Rude was the insurance policy.
Yeah,
but I think they were called the Click, even though the true Click was, of course, those 2, along with Sean Waltman, and Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall.
And I've met people who've met her at conventions. I've seen interviews with Chyna, and everybody has always said the same thing. She is a sweetheart. Chyna, I was actually originally supposed to meet Chyna in 2003, I think it was, at Wizard World. And for whatever reason, she couldn't make it, so Raven took her spot. So I did get to meet Raven. And looking back now, I kind of wish, she did show up, and I would have liked to have met Chyna.
And of course, the whole thing with her and Triple H were dating at the time.
They were engaged.
Yeah, they were engaged at the time whenever they did the whole Triple H married Stephanie storyline in WWF.
And of course, that
And it was real.
It ended up being real.
And it broke her heart. She
was really heartbroken.
She appeared on a talk show years later and just talked about that and how
it still brought her to tears.
Yeah.
She was one of the people I think Stone Cold wanted on the Stone Cold podcast. I mentioned that because Triple H was on the podcast and Stone Cold had mentioned, why isn't Chyna in the Hall of Fame? And this really pisses me off because his reason, it makes sense, but I don't buy it I just don't buy his reason. Triple H's reason is, that's your water, that's fine. His reason was, of course, Chyna eventually started doing porn.
Right. That's fine.
She played She-Hulk.
She played She-Hulk, which also pisses me off because I think she could have actually pulled off that role in a live-action movie. But his reason was, okay, we put her in the Hall of Fame. Well, now we got kids who may not know Chyna looking up Chyna on Google. So they Googled Chyna. And, of course, what's going to pop up? Porn.
But
that was his reason.
Not always. If you just put Chyna, WWE, or WWF, you'll find what you're looking for.
And if the parents actually have a parental block
if
on
a good
there.
parent has the block on there.
So that was his reason. And it's bullshit reason because look at a lot of the other people that have been on there.
Hulk Hogan has
Hulk Hogan.
porno,
they're going to end up putting X-Pac in there. X-Pac did a porn with Chyna.
Yeah,
It was
that's
the first
actually
one.
what got her into porn. It's called One Night in China.
Because when they do DX, X-Pac's going to be on there.
Yeah.
And so that, like I said, that was a total bullshit reason. But we're not here to bash. We're here to kind of, do our little.
And of course, we know the real reason that she wasn't inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah. Of course, like we mentioned earlier,
Again,
Triple H
because of
and
her.
Chyna were engaged whenever Stephanie and Triple H got married. So there was a little bit of jealousy there on both parts, I guess.
And again, Chyna was one of the few female wrestlers who could actually wrestle.
Yeah.
Wrestled with the men, and that's
She wrestled
her and
the
Beth
men.
Phoenix.
Her and Beth Phoenix, another one. Who could
Caitlyn
actually
was.
wrestle. Caitlyn.
Yeah.
But Chyna was one of the firsts. And of course, her most famous feud wasn't with a female, it was with Latino Heat, the late great Eddie Guerrero. And of course, that was his mamacita.
Yeah. And they did shower scenes together.
And of course, they ended up feuding because Eddie Guerrero cheated on her, I think I heard. And she ended up kicking his ass.
But wasn't Eddie married to Vicky at the time?
Yeah, well, this was all storyline.
Yeah.
This was all story. So,
Vicky was doing everybody in WWE.
Edge.
I mean, you have any memories specifically of Chyna that you want to share?
The first time I saw Chyna, and probably first year, I know there was always a rumor that she was actually a guy who had a sex change because she was just so muscular.
Yeah.
And back in her early days, her jawline, you kind of resembled the guy that.
And again, that bothered me too later on when she got the plastic surgery. I didn't like that. No. I liked the way she actually looked.
And I remember when she first debuted in Playboy. Mm-hmm. I kept that centerfold in my wallet for quite some time.
I still have the issue. I have this first and the second issue of that. I stole it from my dad.
Sure you did.
I went dumpster diving for my Playboys. People throw them out in my old apartment complex.
Actually, I don't know if I still have the first one. I know I have the second one. But
I remember one of my favorite memories was when, in the storyline, her and Kane were together, and he accidentally hurt her in the ring, and they were he was sitting in the locker room, rocking back and forth with her in his arms.
Yeah. Which was sweet and at the same time really creepy.
Yeah.
Be a little bit more creepy if he was just rocking there.
I like
stroking her head.
It is so precious.
My favorite memory was when she passed the torch to Lita.
Yeah.
She lost the title to Lita, and it was a sign of respect. It was one of her last times in WWE.
And then she went on to become Chyna Doll in TNA.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't legally use until she legally changed her name to Chyna, then she could use it.
But she only did a very brief appearance in TNA. one pay-per-view, which I'd heard wasn't really good. So, but and then of course she was just trying to get her life straightened out. It's still not for sure how she died. It's been told she before she was found, she was dead for at least a day or two, and it might have been not deliberate overdose, but she was taking prescription drugs, and it might have been prescription drugs, which leads me to Prince. Because this is the other one we're doing now.
Prince kind of hit me because I was sitting at Dairy Queen with my wife and my son, getting lunch one day, and the day that he, it was announced that he died. Because I think, what was it, less than a week ago that they made the announcement that
he landed in Illinois for an emergency.
And he was taken out on a stretcher, and
for flu-like symptoms.
And he ended up leaving the hospital because they didn't have any private rooms available.
Was that the reason?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't understand.
And then he also canceled a show because of that too.
Yeah.
But he ended up going back to the show to do it just to appease the fans and everything.
And again, there's only speculations right now. We're not going to mention speculations, but obviously the obvious ones are drug overdoses or the illness from before. There's been talk of opium.
From what I gather is, if it was drug overdose,
accidental.
It was accidental because
he was seen leaving a Walgreens.
And it was prescription.
So that was the last photo taken of him. It was of him leaving Walgreens. So.
And then I'm looking on my phone, at Dairy Queen, and I see John's post, Prince has died,
And I was upset.
It was not just that.
And I tell my wife, I'm like, Prince just died. She's like, are you sure that's real?
I did one post later.
I saw that one. And
my wife's like, are you sure that's real? And so I go and I'm looking.
Yeah,
it was
before
real.
Before I post anything like that, I at least do a little back history.
Because there's so many.
Because how many times has Johnny Depp died? How many times is?
How many times have people died and then come back to life?
Zombies.
Elvis.
My introduction to Prince was at a very young age. I was probably about 5 or 6, and I just told this story on Facebook. I was at a bar with my mom. She wasn't drinking. She was visiting friends, and I'm sitting there at a round table with a root beer and my He-Man figures. And on the jukebox started playing Purple Rain, and I just, for whatever reason, it got me to stop playing with my figures, and I was listening to the song. I didn't know what he was saying, what he was really talking about. I just knew there was a lot of soul, a lot of heart into that song. And that's you could say that about all of his songs.
My introduction to Prince was the Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
There was a lot of people's introduction to Batman.
Seeing him in doing the Bat dance in the music video
with the half bat, half Joker look.
He looked like.
He looked like a Joker.
Yeah, he looked like they just took Joker right out of the comic books. But that was my introduction to him. And just the other...
I think I would have been okay with him playing Joker, actually.
Yeah. Just the other day when someone on my Facebook posted a video of a Beatles song that he did with Tom Petty and a few other guys. Mm-hmm. What was the name of that? My guitar.
Because he did a few of them. He did a few different ones like
my guitar cried or something like that.
Something like that.
I was listening to that song and I listened to it probably 6 times back to back. And it was just an emotional roller coaster because you could tell the way he played and the way Tom Petty sang it. Mm-hmm. It was from the heart, from the soul, really. Even the guitar solo that Prince did, it was completely from their souls. Even though they didn't write the song itself.
And I'll ask you this, because back in the day, especially the 80s, you were either a Michael Jackson guy or you were a Prince guy. Mm. Which were you? And be honest, because
that's a tough one, because I obviously knew more about Michael Jackson than I did Prince. I was, back in the 80s, I was in 2nd grade in 89.
Right.
So
okay, 90. We'll go to
90. I'd say more of a Prince guy because 90s is when I got more into music. Mm-hmm. You know, I had my own rock band for a while. I wrote my own music, guitar, chords, sang my own songs and everything for a while. So I can appreciate the artists who actually were artists in their own right.
Yeah.
Not these ones that hire songwriters to write all their songs and musics and everything for them.
Not saying Jackson did that.
That's actually one of my biggest problems with Elvis. Was he didn't write any of his own songs.
No. Some of them he actually sang, but from someone else.
I think Neil Diamond actually wrote a couple of his songs.
Blue Suede Shoes, I think, was one of them. I know somebody wrote Blue Suede Shoes. Somebody famous.
But that's what really makes me respect Prince a lot more, was the fact that he not only wrote all his own songs, he wrote all the music for each of the instruments for his songs as well. And I think during recording, he played all the instruments.
And he actually never released all his material either. He did it pretty much. He had his own sound studio, and he would do it just to do it.
Yeah.
He'd record it, make full-on videos and everything, just to do it because he loved to do it.
And you always knew when Prince was in the studio because last night I watched the 2020 special on Prince. He has a pyramid on 3 pyramids on the roof of his big ass.
That big studio.
It's not even a mansion. It's just like a facility.
It looks like something you would see somewhere you would want to go in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. But there are 3 pyramids on top that were acting like a skylight.
You've seen it on the news because it was the building they've been showing where the fans were going. There was a rainbow over it that they died.
Yeah.
But it continues. Sorry.
But there are 3 pyramids right over the studio that were kind of a skylight for the studio that would all light up purple anytime he was in his studio.
Yeah.
So
which kudos to all the cities here in the States and country for highlighting all their major buildings purple.
And you
That's
know,
cool.
it's amazing because with as famous as Prince was, as popular as he was, as wealthy as he was, you know, there was hardly a bad thing ever said about him. He wasn't.
There was controversies where he
wore assless chaps on stage.
Yeah. Well, that was before he became a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Before and the rumor is true he was a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
There's anything wrong with it.
There were never any big scandals like there was with Michael Jackson.
There was one, his biggest one. I forget who it was he was dating, but she had to break up with because he dated a lot. He dated Kim Basinger, he dated Madonna.
He gave Carmen Electra her name.
Right. But there was one woman, I don't remember who it was now because I just read it too, where he hit her. He was abusive, is what I heard. And he probably got that from his dad because if you watch Purple Rain is very much his life story.
Yeah.
So, and so it is possible he could have been abusive, but it's never been. I would say it's never been proven. And I'm not saying I condone stuff like that or anything, but or calling anybody a liar.
And the way you would see Prince on TV, all his flamboyancy and everything. That's how he was on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
He wasn't a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy.
No.
Everyone on his crew and everything had to look their best 24/7.
And funny trivia note, and it was mentioned briefly in Kevin Smith's thing, but it actually came out rather recently as well. I'm taller than Prince.
But he's a hell of a basketball player.
He's 5'2", I'm 5'3 and a half.
Are you sure?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay.
He tried out.
I measured his tape.
He tried out for his high school basketball team, and they wouldn't let him on the team because he was so small. But he had his own basketball court, and you wouldn't think it looking at the guy. You wouldn't think he was he loved playing basketball.
No, he was a baller,
and he would make every single shot he would go try for.
Yeah.
But he was always upset that the coaches in school never let him on the basketball team because he was so small.
Right. Were you a Prince fan or?
Well, most of my music, because I was born in '93, most of it was whatever my mom had on the radio in the car or whatever was on Disney Channel. So Britney Spears, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Aaron Carter.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Most of my main introduction to Prince was playing Purple Rain in high school in marching band.
Mm-hmm. and I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, my favorite song was Purple Rain," or "What Doves Cry," or But people say Purple Rain a lot. You know, it sounds cliche. It's because that was one of the songs that was just so powerful.
It was powerful.
I got a solo in it.
But I mean, he's done so many other. I mean, he has one of the biggest categories,
Which actually, in the movie Purple Rain,
which was all recorded live while they were recording the movie.
he doesn't actually take credit for it in the movie.
No,
The credit is given to the female guitarist, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
For
Yeah, in
writing
the movie,
Purple
yeah.
Rain.
The two, the drummer and the guitarist both wrote
Yeah.
it. So, he was also responsible for. And here's another death too, by the way, only months apart, about a month apart. Was Vanity, his protege, also passed away last month.
Which was around the same time as David Bowie.
Yeah. So I mean,
We've lost a lot this year.
Can we
this year and last
I just
year.
want to say, can we stop taking away our awesome
Yeah.
people? I mean, we offer you Justin Bieber and the Kardashians, please.
and Kanye West.
Please.
Sad news: Kanye West was still found alive.
Yeah.
I don't wish death on anybody. I don't. But I mean, seriously, can we not?
If we could have Prince, Michael Jackson, and Whitney Houston back,
Well,
we'll gladly give you.
And we have talent.
They can keep Whitney.
Yeah. Whitney was alright back in the day.
We need talent back. We don't need auto-tune.
Yeah. And songs that require like 3 words.
Yeah. The point is, I mean, it really is. I mean, I think we feel this way because it's making us realize we're getting old. We were listening to Prince back in the 80s and 90s when he was, in his 30s and 20s, and here we are, and they're dying at 57 and
And
72.
you may be asking what exactly these 3 people have to do with our show Comicgeddon. Prince and Chyna, those 2 actually had their own comic books.
They did.
Doris Roberts, I don't think she ever had a. I don't think she was ever in a comic book.
Give me a moment. I'll think of something. Movie Geek.
Yeah.
There we go. She was in Christmas Vacation. And,
Yeah.
but when we say when all geek culture collide, I mean we refer to
Those are Comic Cons because when Comic Con really went Hollywood and started bringing in a bunch of actors.
Yeah, well, I mean we refer to comic book geeks, movie geeks,
Music.
action figure geeks, music geeks. So I mean Prince is such a huge icon that he's been
Yes.
mentioned and joked on so many times. I just played last night the famous Animaniac skit where
Fingerprints?
where Yakko is
I don't
like,
think so.
where Yakko is like, Dot, you search for fingerprints. And she goes, look, I found him. And he goes, no, fingerprints. He goes, looks at him, and goes, I'm not touching that one, and throws Prince off to the side. So I mean, he's such an icon, and
Why can't we have good cartoons back too?
we'll do another show on that.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith wanted to use his "Let's Get Crazy, Let's Get Nuts." I think that was a song for Jay and Silent Bob. Strike Back, for the scene where they're in the restaurant and Shannon Elizabeth shows up, and we get Bad Medicine instead. He wanted to use that Prince
Yeah.
song. And you can watch.
But
An
Prince
Evening with-
being a Jehovah's Witness at the time.
And
Didn't care for
you
it.
can watch An Evening with Kevin Smith. That whole story's on there. He does kind of make him out to be a little bit of a Looney Tune. I just think he was just really flamboyant. He was just out there.
Well, he was a musical genius, and
He was a revolutionary.
They say
It wasn't
there's
just
a
the name of
fine.
his band. He was in fact.
There is a fine line between genius and insanity. I challenge anyone to find me a genius that isn't partially insane.
Yeah.
You can't.
Albert Einstein was nuts.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to look for musical geniuses who are insane, there's actually an orchestra. Nothing but old men. They stay on until they die, the day they die. And then they bring on the next old man. No young guys are allowed. They have to practice every day of their lives until they go insane. And then they're allowed in.
Not doing a show on that. So, but yeah, this is why we're taking up a segment to honor.
And I think we're getting to about a half an hour.
Yeah. Well, really.
Yeah, it's a good thing we decided to break the Comicgeddon up into segments. So
Yeah.
because we'd be at an hour and a half for right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just so many good things to say about these people, and we definitely wanted to honor them. And unfortunately, this may be a regular segment, depending on who it is. I mean, we gotta kind of pick and choose.
Depending on who it is.
We gotta pick and choose. I mean,
It's really a shame that we didn't have this show. What was it, a year ago, 2 years ago, when Robin Williams died? Because he was a huge inspiration to both me and John.
You would have probably seen me in tears. I'm almost trying to tear up now, actually thinking about it.
I actually broke down into tears whenever I heard.
I don't break down in tears often when celebrities die, but when Robin Williams died, I broke down because Robin Williams is responsible for me being the guy I am as far as comedy wise.
Right.
Voices every week. If you look at the.
There's a Doubtfire, a bunch of other movies. I love Doubtfire and Jumanji.
It was always a dream of mine to see Robin Williams and Jack Nicholson in a movie together. That would have been such an amazing movie.
If you go back and watch the outtakes, you can see me cracking these guys up. That's why I do that. It's something that got ingrained in my head. I wouldn't,
No,
I can do this all day about Robin Williams.
There's a lot of things integrated in his head that you would have to. We didn't need a camera here on Friday nights so you can watch him kill me.
Maybe one of these days, I'll join him for some Dungeons and Dragons and film it, and we'll do a Dungeons and Dragons special for Comicgeddon.
Maybe I'm leaving next month.
Yeah, he's gonna be gone.
I'm gone for a couple of months.
Well, it'd probably be in the wintertime whenever I'll have the free time available to.
Yeah. So, but there you go. Thank you for joining us this week on Comicgeddon. I'm John Wise.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Dylan.
Have a good one. Until next time.